Ambassador Elena Vasquez sat perfectly still in the great hall of the Galactic Council. Her hands rested on the smooth metal table in front of her. She did not move even when the Thraxian war chief slammed all four of his arms against his speaking platform. The sound echoed through the crystal chamber like thunder. The hall was enormous. Its walls were made of living crystal that changed colors with the emotions of those inside. Right now the walls glowed angry red and yellow. Floating devices hung in the air, translating every word into hundreds of different languages. Some words came out as clicks, others as musical notes, and some as smells that only certain aliens could understand. The war chief's shell was black and shiny like armor. His eyes were the size of dinner plates and glowed bright orange. When he spoke, his voice was like grinding rocks. "Your pathetic species has exactly 48 of your Earth hours," he said. "Surrender now or face the combined might of 7 galactic civilizations." Around the circular chamber, other alien representatives nodded their agreement. The Zephyrians were tall and thin like ghosts. They could become invisible whenever they wanted. Right now they flickered in and out of sight, which meant they were excited. Their leader's voice was like wind through leaves when she spoke. "Humans are nothing," she said. "We have been traveling between stars for 10,000 years. You have barely learned to leave your own planet." The Corvathan were different from both the Thraxians and Zephyrians. They were huge and covered in gray fur. Each one was twice as tall as a human and 3 times as wide. When they spoke, it sounded like bears growling. Their representative stood up slowly, making the floor shake. "Humans smell of fear," he said. "We can taste it in the air." Elena smiled. It was a small, polite smile that never left her face. Next to her sat Commander Marcus Chen, a man with serious eyes who wrote everything down in a small notebook. On her other side was Dr. Sarah Kim, who studied alien life forms. Dr. Kim was looking at all the different species around them like a scientist studying interesting bugs. The human delegation was tiny compared to everyone else. Most species had brought dozens of representatives. Some had entire choirs to sing their demands. Others had brought weapons to show off their power. The humans had brought 3 people in a briefcase. "Perhaps," Elena said in a calm voice, "you could provide these terms in writing? My government will want to review them carefully." The hall erupted in what passed for laughter among the various species. The Thraxians clicked their claws together in rapid patterns. The Zephyrians made sounds like wind chimes in a storm. The Corvathan made deep rumbling noises that shook the floor. Other aliens made sounds that human ears could not even hear properly. The Quillian representative was the strangest of all. It looked like a giant squid with purple skin that changed patterns when it moved. Its many tentacles waved in the air as it spoke. "Review them?" it said in a voice like bubbles popping. "Foolish humans. You think this is a negotiation? This is a demand for your complete surrender." More laughter filled the chamber. The crystal walls now glowed with bright yellow, the color of amusement and contempt. Elna continued to smile her polite smile as a small robot rolled up to their table and handed her a data pad. The surrender terms were written in simple words that even a child could understand. "All human military forces will stand down immediately," Elena read aloud. "All human colonies will be placed under galactic supervision. All human technology will be shared with the Council. Human leaders will be replaced by Council-approved governors." She looked up. "Is this everything?" The Thraxian war chief leaned forward. His orange eyes glowed brighter. "Those are generous terms, human. Many species would simply destroy you and take what they want. We are being kind by letting you live as our servants." "Very generous indeed," Elena agreed. She closed the datapad and placed it carefully in her briefcase. "We will need some time to discuss this with our government." 48 hours, the Quillian reminded her. Its tentacles curled and uncurled with excitement. "After that, our fleets will do what words could not." As the human delegation prepared to leave, they could hear the aliens talking among themselves. The universal translators picked up fragments of their conversations. Words like primitive and helpless and easy conquest filled the air. Some species were already discussing how they would divide up human territory. Elena stood up slowly. Commander Chen and Dr. Kim followed her lead. As they walked toward the exit, Elena turned back to address the assembled council one more time. "Thank you for your patience," she said. "This has been very educational." The crystal walls flickered with satisfied purple as the humans left. Behind them, the aliens continued their discussions about the coming war. It would be easy, they agreed. Humans had only been in space for a few hundred years. They had small ships and simple weapons. Their entire fleet probably had fewer than 300 vessels. What the aliens did not see was the way Elena's smile changed once they were in the hallway outside the chamber. It did not disappear. Instead, it became something sharper, something that would have made them very uncomfortable if they had been paying attention. 48 hours, Commander Chen said quietly as they walked toward their ship. Yes, Elena replied. Almost insulting, really. Dr. Kim looked back at the crystal chamber one more time. They really have no idea, do they? Elena's smile grew a little wider. None at all. The human embassy ship looked small and simple from the outside. It was called the Diplomatic Endeavor, and it seemed like nothing special compared to the massive alien vessels in the spaceport. Most alien ships were the size of cities covered in weapons and glowing with energy. The human ship looked like a tiny metal box by comparison. But inside the ship, something very different was happening. Elena finally let her diplomatic mask slip away. Her polite smile changed into something much sharper and more dangerous. She walked to the communication center and placed her hand on a scanner. The ship's computer, called Athena, came to life. Athena appeared as a blue hologram of a woman with kind eyes and a knowing smile. How did the meeting go? She asked, even though she already knew the answer. Exactly as we expected, Elena said. She activated the most secure communication system on the ship. It used something called quantum encryption that made it impossible for anyone to listen in. They gave us 48 hours to surrender unconditionally. Athena's smile grew wider. 48 hours? That's almost insulting. Do they think we work that slowly? The communication screen flickered to life. On it appeared Admiral Sarah Chen, Commander Marcus Chen's older sister. She was sitting in the command chair of a massive warship called Terra's Will. Behind her, Elena could see the busy bridge of what looked like the most advanced ship ever built. Admiral Chen had gray hair and tired eyes, but her voice was strong and confident. I watched your meeting through the diplomatic feeds, she said. The Thraxians seem very sure of themselves. They have good reason to be, Elena replied. Their combined fleet is impressive. Nearly 10,000 ships from 7 different species. If this were a normal war, they would win easily. Admiral Chen smiled, and it was the same sharp smile that Elena had worn. Good thing this won't be a normal war, then. Another screen opened, this one showing Dr. James Wright. He was working in his laboratory aboard a research ship called Prometheus. The lab was filled with strange machines that hummed and glowed with mysterious energy. Dr. Wright was a thin man with wild hair who always seemed excited about something. The quantum readings are fascinating, Dr. Wright said without looking up from his instruments. I'm detecting massive energy signatures from their fleet. They're not trying to hide their power at all. Very confident. Very educational. Educational? Elena asked. Dr. Wright finally looked up from his work. His eyes were bright with excitement. Oh yes, we've been wondering how to test our new systems under real conditions. This will be perfect. Elena turned to look out the window of their ship. In the distance, she could see some of the alien vessels preparing to leave. They were heading back to gather their fleets for the coming attack. Each ship was a work of art and terror, designed to inspire fear in anyone who saw them. Have our people been informed? Elena asked. Admiral Chen nodded. All colonies have received the updated schedules. Nothing obvious, just some routine maintenance and extended shifts at the industrial plants. To outside observers, it will look like normal activity. Elena smiled. Across human space, life continued exactly as normal. Children went to school and played games during recess. Farmers worked in their fields, harvesting crops under alien suns. Factory workers built cars and computers and household items just like they always had. But if someone looked very carefully, they might notice a few small changes. A few extra cargo ships launching from the industrial worlds. Mining operations that seemed to be working around the clock. Space stations running what they called routine maintenance that required all their systems to be upgraded. How long do you think it will take them to gather their forces? Commander Chen asked. Based on their departure vectors, they'll probably converge on our solar system in about 36 hours, Athena calculated. That gives them 12 hours to position themselves and make their demands official. Dr. Wright chuckled from his laboratory. 12 hours to position themselves for the lesson of their lives. Elena looked at her colleagues on the screens. These were some of the smartest and most capable people humanity had ever produced. They had spent decades preparing for this moment, hoping it would never come but knowing it probably would. Any word from the pacifist factions on the council? Elena asked. Dr. Kim, who had been quiet during the meeting, finally spoke up. I've been monitoring their communications. The Gentle Spirits and the Harmony Seekers both tried to speak against the war, but they were shouted down. The militarist species are in complete control right now. That's unfortunate, Elena said. We always prefer peaceful solutions. Admiral Chen's expression grew more serious. Elena, are you sure about this course of action? Once we begin, there's no going back. The galaxy will never see us the same way again. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Outside the ship, alien vessels continued their preparations for war. They were so confident, so certain that their superior numbers and technology would carry the day. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. What could one young species possibly do against them? We gave them every chance, Elena said finally. We tried diplomacy. We tried compromise. We tried being helpful and cooperative. They mistook our kindness for weakness. She turned back to face the communication screens. Her diplomatic smile was completely gone now, replaced by something much more determined. It's time they learned what humanity is really capable of. The alien fleet arrived at Earth's solar system like a storm made of metal and fire. Ships appeared out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their weapons already charged and ready. The sight should have terrified anyone watching from Earth. The Thraxian battle cruisers were the largest ships in the fleet. Each one was the size of a small moon, covered in armor that could survive the explosion of a star. Their weapons could destroy entire planets with a single shot. Behind them came the living ships of the Zephyrians, vessels that were grown rather than built, pulsing with organic energy. The Corvathen brought their geometric ships that hurt to look at directly. These vessels existed in multiple dimensions at once, making them nearly impossible to target with normal weapons. The Quillian fleet consisted of ships that looked like giant sea creatures swimming through space, their tentacle-like appendages trailing energy fields. In total, nearly 10,000 ships had come to watch humanity surrender. The combined firepower could have destroyed every planet in the solar system, and still had energy left over. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history, brought together just to deal with one small, primitive species. Admiral Krextar commanded the Thraxian portion of the fleet from his flagship, the mighty Deathbringer. He had conquered dozens of worlds and defeated hundreds of enemy fleets. Looking at his tactical display, he felt almost disappointed. Where was the human fleet? Where were their defenses? His sensors detected only a few hundred small ships scattered around the solar system. Most were clearly civilian vessels going about their normal business. Earth itself had almost no orbital defenses. A few space stations, some communication satellites, and what looked like a small military base on the moon. This is insulting, Admiral Krextar said to his second-in-command. Where is their fleet? Are they hiding? Are they so cowardly that they won't even meet us in battle? His tactical officer, a younger Thraxian with bright blue markings on his shell, studied the sensor readings. Sir, our long-range scans show no hidden fleets, no massive defense platforms, no secret weapons. It appears they truly have nothing. Admiral, Krextar opened a communication channel to Earth. He expected to see panicked leaders, begging for mercy, or desperate military, commanders preparing a hopeless last stand. Instead, he saw Elena Vasquez standing calmly on the steps of a building labeled United Nations. She was wearing the same diplomatic outfit from the council meeting. Her hair was perfectly arranged, and she had that same polite smile. Behind her, people were walking around going about their normal business as if 10,000 alien warships had not just arrived to destroy their world. Greetings, Elena said pleasantly. Thank you for coming all this way. I know it must have been a long journey for some of your fleets. Admiral Krextar was so surprised he almost forgot to respond. Human, he said finally, your 48 hours have expired. You will surrender immediately or face the consequences. Oh yes, Elena said, still smiling. We've given your proposal very careful consideration. We had several meetings about it. Very thorough discussions. And, the Admiral demanded. Elena's smile grew a little wider. We appreciate the generous offer, but we must respectfully decline. Across the alien fleet, commanders turned to look at each other in confusion. The Quillian fleet leader's tentacles writhed with what might have been amusement. Decline? It said through the communication channel. You cannot decline. Look around you, foolish human. We have brought enough firepower to sterilize your entire star system. Yes, very impressive, Elena agreed. Your ships are quite beautiful. Such excellent craftsmanship. The Zephyrian commander phased into visibility, her ghostly form flickering with annoyance. This is madness. Where is your fleet? Where are your weapons? How do you expect to fight us with nothing? Elena looked thoughtful for a moment. You know, that's a very good question. Before we begin, would you mind if we shared some recent research findings? I think you might find them interesting. Admiral Krextar's confusion was turning into anger. Research findings? What are you talking about? This is war, not a science lecture. Oh, but science is so important, Elena said. Athena, would you please initiate Protocol 7? Suddenly, Dr. Wright's voice came through every communication channel of every ship in the alien fleet. His excited professorial tone filled command centers across 10,000 vessels. Hello, everyone, he said cheerfully. I'm Dr. James Wright, and I'd like to tell you about some fascinating discoveries we've made regarding the quantum foundation of reality. Admiral Krextar tried to cut the communication, but nothing happened. Dr. Wright continued talking as if he were giving a lecture to university students. You see, we've learned that space and time aren't really solid things. They're more like suggestions. And with the right technology, you can make different suggestions. What is this nonsense? The Quillian commander demanded. Destroy them. Destroy them now. Admiral Krextar gave the order to fire. The Deathbringer's main cannon charged up with enough energy to crack a planet in half. The weapon fired, sending a beam of pure destruction toward Earth. The beam traveled exactly 3 meters from the cannon and then simply stopped existing. Dr. Wright's voice continued calmly, as if nothing had happened. For example, we can create selective modifications to local spacetime that affect only specific types of matter. Weapons, for instance, or engines. Very handy for peaceful demonstrations. Admiral Krextar stared at his weapons display in horror. Every system showed green. Everything was working perfectly. But when he ordered another shot, the same thing happened. The energy beam simply vanished the moment it left his ship. Across the fleet, other commanders were discovering the same thing. Weapons fired but achieved nothing. Engines ran but produced no movement. The ships were perfectly functional but completely powerless. Elena's voice joined Dr. Wright's on the communication channels. Please don't be alarmed, she said kindly. The effect is completely temporary and entirely harmless to living beings. We would never want to hurt anyone. However, she continued, it does make your weapons rather decorative. Dr. Wright's voice continued to fill every ship in the alien fleet. He sounded like a teacher explaining something wonderful to eager students. The quantum field we've created affects matter in very specific ways, he said. It's really quite elegant when you understand the science behind it. Admiral Krextar tried everything he could think of. He ordered his engines to full power, but his massive battle cruiser didn't move even a centimeter. He commanded his weapons to fire continuously, but not a single shot reached its target. It was as if his ship had become a beautiful sculpture floating helplessly in space. The same thing was happening throughout the entire fleet. The Zephyrian vessels, which could normally phase in and out of different dimensions, found themselves locked in normal space. Their commanders frantically tried to activate their dimensional drives, but nothing worked. They were trapped in regular reality like everyone else. The Corvathan geometric ships discovered that their impossible angles now followed ordinary physics. These vessels had been designed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, making them nearly impossible to destroy. Now they were just oddly shaped ships floating powerlessly among the stars. The Quillian commander's tentacles thrashed wildly as its living ships stopped responding to mental commands. These vessels were grown from specially engineered organisms that could heal themselves and adapt to any threat. But now they simply floated in space like sleeping sea creatures. This is impossible, Admiral Krextar roared. No technology can do this. Physics doesn't work this way. Dr. Wright chuckled, and it was a sound full of genuine amusement. Oh, but that's the beautiful thing about science. It's always teaching us that our understanding of what's possible is much smaller than we thought. Admiral Chen's voice joined the conversation, broadcasting from somewhere close by. We call it a quantum pacification field, she said. Catchy name, don't you think? It took our scientists about 30 years to figure out how to make it work reliably. Admiral Krextar looked at his tactical display, trying to find the source of the human transmissions. His sensors showed only the same few hundred small ships they had detected earlier. But now his computer was highlighting something strange. Those ships weren't where they had been a few minutes ago. Sir, his tactical officer said in a shaking voice. "The human vessels, they're inside our formation." Admiral Krextar stared at the display in disbelief. Somehow, without triggering a single alarm or sensor, the human ships had moved to positions throughout the alien fleet. They were close enough to touch. Some were floating just a few kilometers away from his own flagship. "How?" he whispered. "How did they get so close without us detecting them?" Admiral Chen's voice was warm with amusement. "The same way we made your weapons stop working. When you can manipulate space-time itself, moving around becomes much easier. We just suggested to reality that we had always been here." The Zephyrian commander's ghostly voice cut through the communications. "This is some kind of trick, some kind of illusion. You cannot simply rewrite the laws of physics." Dr. Wright's voice took on the tone of a professor, correcting a student's misconception. "Oh, we're not rewriting anything. The laws of physics are still exactly the same. We've just learned to work with them in ways that most species never imagine. You see," he continued, "most civilizations develop technology by building bigger guns and stronger armor. They think in terms of force against force. But humans have always been good at finding different approaches." On his tactical display, Admiral Krextar watched more information appear about the human ships. His computer was finally getting clear readings, and what it showed made no sense. These weren't the primitive vessels he had expected. The technology signatures were completely unlike anything in the galactic database. "Energy readings are off the scale," his science officer reported. "Sir, these ships are more advanced than anything we've ever encountered. I don't understand how this is possible." The Quillian commander's tentacles had stopped thrashing. Its voice was quieter now, filled with a growing fear. "How long have you had this technology?" Elena's voice answered from Earth, still carrying that same diplomatic politeness. "We began developing quantum manipulation theory about 50 years ago. The practical applications took a while to figure out, but we've been testing various systems for the past 20 years. 20 years? Admiral Krextar felt something cold growing in his stomach. "You've had this power for 20 years? "Oh yes," Elena said. "We could have revealed it when we first joined the galactic community. But we thought it would be better to observe and learn. We wanted to understand how the galaxy worked before making any big announcements." Dr. Wright's voice became more serious. "The field affecting your ships will wear off in about an hour. Your weapons and engines will return to normal function. But I thought you should know that this demonstration is using less than 1% of our total capability." A terrible silence fell across the alien fleet. 10,000 ships floated helplessly in space, their crews beginning to understand that they were completely at the mercy of the species they had come to conquer. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the silence. "We want you to understand something very important. Humanity has never been interested in conquest. We prefer cooperation. We prefer peace. But we are not helpless and we are not naive." Elena's diplomatic training took over again, her voice becoming formal but not unkind. "When we first encountered galactic civilization, we made a choice. We could have announced our capabilities and watched fear reshape every interaction, or we could give peace a genuine chance. We chose peace," she continued. "We hoped that other species would be reasonable, that they would be willing to coexist without forcing anyone to surrender or submit." Her voice grew colder. "That hope appears to have been misplaced." Elena Vasquez appeared on the main viewing screen of every ship in the alien fleet. She was standing in what looked like a simple office with a window behind her. Through the window, the commanders could see the curve of Earth and the blackness of space beyond. But Admiral Krextar noticed something that made his blood run cold. The view through that window showed no orbital defenses, no massive space stations, no ring of protective weapons around the planet. Earth looked completely undefended, just as his sensors had indicated. Elena's diplomatic smile had changed. It was still polite, but now it carried a weight that made even the largest war chiefs uncomfortable. She spoke in the same pleasant tone she had used in the council chambers, but somehow it sounded completely different. "We want you to understand," Elena said, "that humanity has never been interested in conquest. We have always preferred cooperation to conflict. We believe that intelligent species can find ways to coexist without violence." The camera pulled back slightly, and Admiral Krextar realized something impossible. Elena wasn't speaking from Earth. She was broadcasting from inside one of the alien ships. Somehow she had gotten aboard one of the most secure vessels in the fleet without anyone noticing. "But we are not helpless," Elena continued. and we are not naive. When we first encountered galactic civilization, we made a choice. We could announce our capabilities and watch fear reshape every interaction we might have had. Or we could observe, learn, and give peace a genuine chance. Dr. Wright's voice joined the broadcast from his laboratory. Data streams began appearing on every alien ship's communication system. The information showed star charts that the galactic powers had never seen before, maps of space that revealed the true scope of human presence in the galaxy, what the aliens had thought were a few hundred primitive ships scattered around. Earth's solar system were revealed to be just the visible tip of an enormous iceberg. The data showed thousands of human installations throughout space, hidden bases, research stations, ships that existed in dimensions the aliens couldn't even detect. For 20 years, Elena said, we have been watching and learning. We have studied your technologies, your cultures, your strengths, and your weaknesses. We have been present at battles you thought were private. We have observed council meetings that you believed were secret. The Quillian commander's tentacles had stopped moving entirely. Its voice was barely a whisper. How many ships do you really have? Admiral Chen's voice answered from somewhere in the void. The ships you detected around Earth represent about 3% of our active fleet. We only bothered to make that many visible because we thought it would be rude to appear completely defenseless. She paused, letting that information sink in. The rest weren't worth uncloaking for this demonstration. Admiral Krextar felt his world crumbling around him. His species had ruled this part of the galaxy for 3,000 years. The Thraxians were the most feared military power in known space, and now he was learning that a species he had considered primitive had been watching them like insects under a microscope. Your 48-hour ultimatum, Elena said, and now her diplomatic smile was gone entirely, was the final proof we needed that peaceful coexistence was not possible under the current galactic order. So here is what will happen instead, she continued. You will return to your worlds. You will tell the Council what you have learned here, and you will consider very carefully what kind of neighbors you want humans to be. The Zephyrian commander's ghostly form flickered with fear. You would make war on the entire galaxy? Elena's expression softened slightly. We would prefer not to. We still hope for peace, but it will be peace between equals, not the peace of the conquered. The galaxy will have to decide whether it can accept that. Dr. Wright's voice became cheerful again, as if he were discussing the weather. The quantum pacification field will deactivate in approximately 10 minutes. Your ships will regain full functionality. I recommend using that time to prepare your departure. Admiral Krextar found his voice. This cannot be. How did we not know? How did our intelligence services miss this? You saw what you expected to see, Elena replied gently. A young species with primitive technology and simple ships. It never occurred to you that we might be deliberately showing you exactly what we wanted you to see. The field around the alien ships began to flicker and fade. Engines came back online. Weapons systems showed green across their displays. But none of the commanders gave orders to attack. They were too busy trying to understand how completely they had been outmaneuvered. Before you leave, Admiral Chen said, there's one more thing you should know. We have never wanted to be your enemies. Even now, we would prefer to be your friends. But friendship requires mutual respect. The choice is yours, Elena added. You can return to the Council and recommend peaceful negotiation and equal partnership. Or you can try to develop weapons to counter our technology and continue down the path of conflict. She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. I should mention that we've been working on our defensive systems for 20 years. If you choose conflict, you should be prepared for a very long and educational war. One by one, the alien ships began to power up their hyperspace drives. The massive fleet that had arrived with such confidence was leaving in complete silence. No threats, no promises of return, just the quiet acknowledgement that everything they thought they knew about the galaxy had changed. Admiral Krextar was among the last to leave. As his flagship prepared to jump to hyperspace, he opened one final communication channel to Earth. Human, he said, his voice heavy with something that might have been respect. What you have done today will change everything. Elena appeared on his screen one more time. She was back on Earth now, standing in front of the United Nations building. Behind her, people were going about their normal lives, completely unaware that the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted forever. We hope so, Elena said simply. We hope it changes everything for the better. The last alien ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving Earth's solar system exactly as they had found it. Peaceful, calm, and seemingly undefended. But now everyone in the galaxy would know the truth that the humans had been hiding behind their patient smiles. Humanity's greatest weapon had never been their technology. It had been their patience and their willingness to let others underestimate them until the moment when restraint was no longer possible. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere in the depths of space, Dr. Wright was already working on his next project, humming happily as he explored the possibilities of quantum mechanics. After all, there was still so much to discover.